I don't think he has any strong hand when he played this way. So I'm just going to jam. I don't expect people to call me in this line, so I'm fine. Here, because I think his range is mainly an ace, I will jam. I don't think he has that many diamonds. Like, I know it sounds a bit scary, but we'll only have like Jack 10. That's aggressive, but I think Rex player all betting the queen is super often. So I'm going to jam. I'm just going to do a massive sizing here. Hi guys, decided to play a small session in 25 NL on GG Poker. So let's dive into the action and hope you like it. First hand here, we have ace king on Jack 6-3. I think here you can do pretty much everything. I like the bet small, I like the check. In theory, you should mix between small and check, but if you play range bet strategy, in this text completely fine, because most people will not call and raise enough, even if they are not going to like overfold massively. 8-6 off here, I'm gonna check against limper. He check again, and on the turn, I don't think we have that much interest to bet. I think we can do an expo move here. I like he's betting something like 1.1. Expect the Queen X region to raise and the like ace 10, king 10 to call. So when he called me on turn, I can just bluff the river. And so when you take this line compared to the check turn bet river, you actually increase your EV because you win a bit more, because you win the amount of chips the villain calls. So on the turn, king jack off here, I'm going to open. Ace 8 off here, will open again. This one, king jack off will fold. I advise you to take notes on what's the sizing people choose to free bets, because if somebody is using 4x sizing, usually they will have unbalances in the sizing, so you need to know that. Ace 8 here on Jack 8-6, I'm going to bet small. You can have a bigger sizing here, but again, like this one first strategy is completely fine. Ace king here, this guy leads, so I assume he's a weaker player. I'm going to raise directly here. I don't see any interest to call with my hand. And I don't think people like Tonk and bluff enough turn river, especially with bigger sizing. So I just prefer to raise directly for value here. Ace queen off here, I'm going to squeeze. Always important to check the VPAP and the P4 of the opener and also of the call caller. I'm gonna squeeze 14 here. In general, bigger sizing are the best because, for example, if I squeeze 17, like he has to have some 4-bet bluffs, and usually it doesn't really happen because it put people in an awkward spot where they have to re-raise a bluff with 34 big blind pre-flop, and they don't really like to do this. Ace queen here, I'm going to bet really small. I gain a lot of EV by getting called by 10s jack, and I don't really want him to fold. Now on the turn, I don't think he will bluff me enough when I check, and I don't think he's going to call enough if I bet big on the turn. So I think the best option here is just betting small, something like 11. I think doing bigger sizing on the flop and on the turn probably the best move. And now on the river, I think I just need to get called by hands. I say like 10s, 9s, jacks, and I just need to bet small. I think when they have an ace, I might think a bit more on the flop and on the turn to raise. So I'm gonna bet 12 to get called by jacks here. Jack clubs hurts. No, head is 9. Okay. Ace king now. I'm going to jump. I think they will have too much folds here. Like ace queen will fold in the stakes. King queen 2. You might have some aces here, but I think you just need to find bluffs, and this one is a good one. You don't really care of the shoots usually because players will never reach the minimum defense frequency like exactly. So if he's overfolding, he's going to overfold massively, so the blocker effect is not really that important. Jack 9 here against a big wreck. I'm going to bet the turn. Expect a lot of fold equity here. Pocket 8, I free bet. I'm going to bet small on the flop. And now with Jack 9, I think I'm going to overbet. Like the ranges will call me is an ace or an 8. I don't believe an ace on double first of bolts fold against an overbet. So just going to bet really big here. Trying to get called by... Oh, I don't think we can fold this. Like I think it's plus EV, but even if you have straights, just don't think you win 100% of the time here. And in this type of situation, you could even find a fold. I'm not gonna fold here, of course. Yes, quads. King 6 here. I'm going to bet small on King 10-7. Okay, then raise. I'm still going to call top pair, but it's not a spot that is really overbluffed. Turn, I'm gonna call, but I'm not going to call the river. I just have too much king geek, so I don't expect players to find enough bluffs now. Usually you just give up. Like the only thing I can do is like bluff jam, but it's not a great, it's really not a great option because the value region he has is probably like king 7 plus at this point, and it's not a range that folds. So I'm gonna show my king and folds. I mean, like quite really 100% sure he has a value in, but people just don't bluff here. I'm gonna fold and show the king. I show because I don't know this guy. I'm not going to play him that much, and I just want him to show. That's the only reason. But usually, I don't really think it's a good strategy to show. I played some live game recently in Cambodia, on HighStakes, and I was bluffing a lot and showing all the bluff. But it actually was really a terrible strategy because people were not that calling station. So I was just more uncertain if they were going to call or fold on some spots. King 9 off, usually it's a fold, but it's 2x. I think we can call this, even it's a bit loose. Facing small sizing. Here, when I'm against a reg and I have flush, I always donk the turn because I don't expect them to bet turn, bet river enough. If he bets 3/4 on the flop, I will tend to lead always the turn because I don't expect them to bluff enough, and I think they will call top pair too much. And now I'm going to check this in. And if you bet the river, I think I will not this size. Yeah. Well, they have to call, but again, it's not going to be like massive plus EV here. Yeah, of course, nobody bluff. Queens here, I'm going to check. Yeah, I thought about raising. I think the sizing is not that strong and it's tough for him to call enough. Against the Rex, not always easy to know if you need to raise the river or not. The sizing is pretty capped, so I'm going to raise directly Queens here. 6-5, I'm going to bet small on this board. Okay, he raise, going to call. I don't think this sizing is really strong. We'll see what he does. He snap checks. This is usually really weak. With two pair, people tend to think a bit more. So I'm just going to bet really small. I don't think betting small is that great, actually. I think betting output is better because then when he has ends like 7-8, 7-5, he will fold more the river. Now, I don't think he has any strong end when he played this way. So I'm just going to jam. I don't expect people to call me in this line, so I'm fine. Okay, Jack 10 suited here on this flop. I'm going to bet big. Pull against a reg. We can do everything. I'm going to bet 1/3. I don't think you have one option really better than the other one, so I'm fine. We hit the straights. I'm going to bet big on the turn. I don't think checking has any merits here against the pool. Ace-Jack, I'm going to check on Kings 9-7. Check, okay. And when he checks, I think I will start to check again. We can bet the turn, but I expect him to check often. Now I can bet the river. Okay, so here we have a spot where I think if I bet one blind, he will fold. 6 is 5, 4 deuces. I don't think it's a bluff. So the main range that will call me is ace queen, ace 10, and like ace 5, ace 4. So I'm going to pot here. He will not fold an ace, I believe. So I'm fine with this move. And he called me with ace jack. Okay. 7-6 off. I'm going to call pre-flop. And on this flop, it's probably going to be a raise here. Like theoretically it's a fold, but he tank check. That's interesting. I'm going to bet here. I'm obviously betting against checked here in this spot because I expect most people to under raise and under call, and they will under call so the turn. So if you play this type of stakes like 15 NL and less, you can bet range here in the spots. Even if you play 100 NL, like it depends on the pool. But usually when you don't have enough information on the guy, like the probability he will not defend enough in this line, so are actually pretty high. 7 free shit here, I'm going to bet all the time. Again, because I expect too much check call, check fold, not enough check raises. So probably all ends are better in this line. He check raise. I'm going to call now. I'm thinking about re-raising. In some spot that will make sense, but not in this one. Just better to call. I don't want to isolate myself against a fold. Now if you bet the turn, it's going to be really complicated because like draws can play as a check call. Force would always play as a check raise. So I expect force to always check raise bets and not check raise check. So probably the check raise bet region is over condensed toward 4, and I have no equity against 4. I mean, close to no equity. And now I think I'm going to bet big here. Like, I don't expect a fall. I expect more like overpairs. And when I bet this sizing and I jam the river, he will fall. And the merits I have when I bet is when he has something like king queen in the clubs, he actually don't realize his equity. So next that I'm going to free bet. I don't advise you to do this type of free bet. The only reason I do this is because at this limit, in these positions, people will not 4-bet enough. When I say this, they always 4-bet, I swear. But yeah, usually they don't 4-bet enough. So I'm going to 3-bet a bit more. Because this guy has a big 3-bet frequency, will call my hand, but I advise you to fold here. I'm calling it more for the video, to be honest, but usually I think you can just fold this type of hand. When he checks on this flop, I don't think we have that much interest to bet 7s, to be honest. Like, the range is going to fall. He's going to check the turn anyway, so I can just bet later if I want. And now when he bets, I don't think it's a bluff enough in this line, so yeah, I'm gonna fold. Unfortunately, 7-6 here, we call. Let's see what it does. Okay, it's above check. My 6 doesn't have showdown value, or at least very few amounts of showdown value, so I'm going to use it as a bluff. Now the question is what sizing we do, and because I know I will bluff the river, I actually like to go for standard sizing. I'd like to bet half pot because it will not really make sense, and now with this sizing I can have more nuts in my pussy region. So sometimes you don't really care because, for example, I represent nothing, but people fall if you bet 500%. But in this spot, I think it's quite appropriate. And now on the river, I think you have two choices. You can pot or you can jam. Here, because I think his range is mainly an ace, I will jam. I don't think he has that many diamonds. Like, I know it sounds a bit scary, but we'll only have like Jack 10, Queen Jack of diamonds, this type of hand. Like, he will also have some, it's not that many combos compared to Ace Jack, Ace 10, even Ace Queen that check sometimes can fall here. Aces here, we got called 4-bet against 3-bet call. If I click, I don't expect them to do enough random stuff with Ace King, so just going to call this hand. And on the turn, I think on the turns, the bet like Queens, Jacks, Kings often, so it will be a bit too Ace King, Ace Queen oriented, so I'm going to check if he checks, even if I have two aces. And now when he bets, I think it's Kings will not fold. Queens has the redraw, and I don't think he will fold. Jack's same, so I'm going to jam. The only problem is if he has some, I'm going to check all 10-9 here. If he has some bluffs, I think I'm just going to jam. Like, I don't expect Ace King to bet that much, and I don't expect Ace King to bluff that much of the river too, so I'm fine bluffing. And even if he's like folding queens, it's fine. Like, he's folding some equity, so it's not like that bad. I don't think players fold kings, and to be honest, with the redraw people call, yeah, that's what I thought. I don't think he fold the range of bets on the turn, so I think you should always jam aces here. Okay, king 9 off. I'm going to call. You can free bet also. I don't expect enough 4-bet, so I will free bet all the time. The only problem here is if you do this on GG, people can see it, so you should probably be a bit more careful in these spots. If you play GG and there is like a clear hard, but otherwise I will just free bet a bit more. Okay, this guy 4-bets. I'm going to fold now. King Deuce off against an open. It looks pretty loose, so I'm going to call King Deuce off here, but otherwise I'll not call this hand. Think I will call, let him bluff if he wants. He check. I don't think he will bluff when I check, because usually the people that bluff the river are the one that think about bluffing the turn, and he didn't even think about it. So I'm just going to charge his diamond here and just bet big. And he fold. Okay, interesting. Pocket 5. I'm going to call here, again this sizing. Okay. You check on his flop. When people check here, they don't really check fold too much, and the check raise enough, so I don't think against a reg you want to see bet your in this hand here. Then is the worst. You should bet like close to everything. And excuse me, sir, but this sizing is not strong enough. So usually in theory, you should start folding fives, but I'm not gonna fold. And I think his sizing is not strong enough. So I have two choices. I can call or raise. I think I will just raise here. Like, I'll not raise that big. I just want him to call me here. The value and I represent are pretty narrow, but he just doesn't have a good hand. Like King X, usually like King Queen plus is condensed too much in the big size. So as soon as I see a sizing where people will be unbalanced, I just apply maximum pressure and advise you to do the same because people are going to exploit you way less than you think. 7 deuce here, I'm always going to ISO here. I don't have a checking back range. I don't have a check back range when the limp. Because the limp fold too much. And even if the limp call, like, I'm going to see bet small here. I need to bet bigger. Quite happy if he's calling a lot, because I'm going to barrel anyway. I don't really want to bet my end here. I'm going to check. And I can bluff the river depending on his sizing. Especially if you see bet small now. And when he checks, I don't think he has a queen that much, so I'm going to try something. I'm gonna jump. That's aggressive, but I think Rex player all betting the queen is super often. So I'm going to jump. I think they fold all the time. Like, if he doesn't have a queen, I think he fold 100% and I win 15, okay? And if he has a queen, he will still have fold, right? Like, he will have some a6 fold, he will have some pocket pairs that are folding. The question is more like, which size is more appropriate? But because his range is condensed toward a6, I think the best size to make fold his range is just this size. Even if it sounds a bit massive. Pocket tens here. We can call, we can re-raise. Going to call this one, especially with a recreational player in the end. Okay, flop is ace king. King, he snap checks. That's really not... That's really aces here, or like ace king or something. People don't check back queens because they want you to... They want you to think you can bet the turn. But now he probably have like ace king or aces. I'm not going to give him any money. Yeah, I mean, what his hand, it's not check the flop and bet big now on the turn. He just thought like ace queen or something. I'm gonna say show me the ace king for the beat. Yeah, just asking a showdown for the video. 7-6 here. I'm gonna bet on the flop. Pocket 9, I'm going to call, especially when we play like this. I mean, as deep. 7-6 here, I'm going to check the turn. I don't really want to bet here, because you can just check and call the river, so we'll have too much bluffs. Believe. Pocket 9. He bets. I'm gonna fold. Bet out pots. I'm gonna jump here. I like to do something now against Rex. Is I put this emoji at the beginning and I jump like the last seconds. And some of them like, that doesn't make any sense, and so they call me more. But you can't really be sure on this stuff. It's more like theories and everything. And some guy just understand and fold more. So depends on the profile you are facing. Going to call here again this size. Checks, I don't think they fold that much, but he can check call, check fold a lot. So I'm going to bet small. Okay, 8 on the turn, perfect. Now I'm going to bet big. Okay. Oh, this is really not strong, so I'm gonna raise. I really just hope he doesn't jam. That will be terrible. But like the only answer will jam is ace 10. I don't think he has a 10. I think we can even value bet the river. Like, yeah, I don't think it's a play a 10 this way. I'm going to value bet here. Trying to get called by like aces or random man. Yeah, I mean, this is actually the problem. Like, he will have some draws beat me. And if he doesn't play like overpair this way, I just value bet in a range. I just value bet in a range that beats me all the time. So, quite a tough spot here. I think it's still fine, but should be really close. But here in 25 NL videos, I like to do some... I like to deviate a bit here from my standard. Ace 5 off here, I'm going to open. King queen off, I'm going to free bet. Look at juices. They look all really tight, so I'm going to open this in. Even if it should be a fold theoretically, but if they don't free bet enough, you can open this. King Queen suited, I free bet, he call. I'm going to check on this flop. I think you can bet really small, so like both strats are fine. I prefer to check because I can represent more like aces and kings, because people don't bet free with aces super often. King Queen, I'm going to check call now. Turns a 5. Okay. King Queen suited, I'm going to call. You bet small here, I'm going to raise. I can call and raise after. Yeah, I'm gonna call. He checks on the turn. I don't have full equity. I'm gonna check. Okay. And I beat the ends at bet this size, I guess. Because he doesn't bet ace jack this size. Ace 10 here. I'm going to 4-bet. Pretty loose 4-bet, but I don't expect them to 4-bet bluffs. So I'm fine using aggressive 3-bet. And if you go on Monker Solver and you solve the pool ranges here, like for example, they don't 5-bet bluffs enough, you will see that you start 4-betting really loose, especially if this guy is not doing anything. I'm going to check ace 10 here. If he checks, I'm going to go for massive sizing. And if you bet small, I'm going to raise. King jack suited here, I'm going to call, especially with this sizing. I'm going to raise. I think I can do like really big and give up. It's probably the best move. I'm going to do 43 here. Okay, king jack, he decided to bet half pot. It's a bit strong, but I think we should call. And I should fold ace 10, unfortunately. Okay, both guy calls. So obviously a super easy fold. This guy bet, like he'll just have nuts 98% of the time. Especially that deciding is not good at all, because if he bets 30, he will get called more by this guy. And the ends calling this sizing or calling 30 and all in on the river anyway. So you need to target ends that are weaker in his ranges and in my ranges, because here, even if I have ace queen, I fold. So that's probably not a good sizing here. I'm gonna fold and see what this guy has. That would be smart to play king 10 this way, but people don't do this, especially as fast. Usually requires time to think about this. So yeah, and even this guy fold queen, so probably not a good move. 9-8 suited here, I'm going to bet with a small. That's a good fold actually. Ace 4 suited, we open. Board king 7 deuce, circle, you mix between 1/3 and check. And with my end, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna check this time. Play lower stakes, probably bet is a bit better. If you play check well, check is really great too. I'm going to check here. Yep. I advise you to bet because it's a spot where people fold a lot. And now when he bet this sizing, I'm going to check call. I really don't like this sizing. It sounds value to me, but like the value range he has is way too narrow. I need to call here. Yeah, because the amount of people are never have connects here is really high, and against this type of people, you win all the pots. So I think you need to call. I don't like these spots because some players just don't find this sizing in bluffs, but I think here you need to call. 8-7 off here, I'm going to call. He pots. I'm not going to fold my pair here. She has a nice offhand, but some people just give up the turn actually as bluff. And now on the turn, I'm also not going to fold. I'm going to explain why. My two outs are clean pretty often, and I can bluff a hurt in the diamond super often. So that's why I like to call a bit more in these spots. And now he probably have an ace like all the time. So yeah, I'm gonna fold here. Ace 10 off, I'm going to open. Ace 6, I'm going to fold. 6-5 suited here. It's okay to call because I'm in position and we're playing a bit deeper and expect my edge to be good enough to have a plus EV call, but that's a bit loose. Don't advise you to do that. This is really tight on the button, but he only played 15 minutes. I'm gonna fold. Okay, if they both check, I think I'm gonna get bad, but because Baby Muscle should bet his No, I'm not going to bet. I'm going to check, and if I want to bet, it's better to bluff the turn. I'm going to raise. I can call, so because you have many. I mean, I have two outs most of the time because two pairs will take a bigger sizing, and I can bluff like an 8 or 7 clubs. So I'm fine here. They don't have king queen, so cap to ace jack now, but I believe two pairs are going to bet before. So now I'm just going to jam. It's too tough for them to find my bluffs, so I'm just going to do a massive sizing here. We expect him not to have tens, but I think he mainly have like his queen here, maybe some ace king, and my range is so strong here. I can't even think the full ace 10 here, even if I don't think they have ace 10 because ace 10 tends to bet a bit bigger on the turn. I saw some players folding ace jack too also here. Ace queen off here, I'm going to fold. I think I'm going to do this smile as I want to call. So I don't want him to call, so I put a smiley. Put an emoji, but it's probably not the best move. Okay, interesting. Yeah, he folded ace 10. I told you they can fold here in this spot. Crazy. Queen 8 here. I'm going to check. That was really wild, but I think I kind of like it. Like if you start folding instead, that's like a really good bluff. And even if you call ace 10, I believe they will have enough folds. I don't see any calls from the small blind. And it's funny because we bluff, but we don't have the same. We don't risk the same for both players. I'm going to jam here. Expect a 7 to bet on the turn. So just bluffing against all pairs at 10 here is great. Yes, I don't think this guy that was small blinds to call enough because we don't have the same risk reward against two players. So it was funny. And, I think it's a great fold, to be honest, by him. Probably not against me. King queen suited. I'm going to see bet small here. Yeah, I can triple barrel here. Turn, I'm going to overbet really big. The goal is to make him fold some a6. So I'm gonna bet really big. When people do this in my choose, usually they are like king jack of diamonds or ace 10 plus. So I expect people to fold an ace, especially Chinese players, because I believe they are like smarter than average player in general. And now on the river, yeah, I'm gonna jam. Like the only nuts he has is ace 10 at this point. And for me, he will have all these queenish jack. I need to really complicated squats to call. Because as I said, people are not going to bet king jack with this type of sizing usually. So I like my move. And often people will never have sets in ace 10 because they jam against this sizing. That's also why I use such big sizing. I'm really curious if like sending an emoji is going to make him call or fold more. He called me with jack. I'm fine here. I think in general people find enough fold, especially with this type of region. One problem also is if people knows my nickname, then my bluffs are not that great. But I'll not use this as an excuse here to getting call because it will happen sometimes. King jack, I'm going to open. King queen suited, I'm going to call. He see bet small, I'm going to call. Okay, he checks. I'm gonna check. I don't think I need to bet here with my king. Can I do something here? Like betting one blind. I think I'm gonna bet one blind. It's probably a bit better. No, I think check is better. Yeah. King 9 when he checks on this flop. I think you have two strategies. Either you play like 100% or check, or you just check range. Because the range that you're going to value when you bet really big are the ends you're going to bet when you check. So not that great. Ace 9 suited here, I'm going to see bet small. Jack 6 deuce, I'm going to bet all spots. Ace 9, I'm going to check on the turn. I don't think we have free street with my hands, so I prefer to check and let him bluffs. No, he snap check. Okay. That's a really rare spot. Probably one of the only situations where you can have small bets here. And fold. Okay. it's really tough for them to call enough the small sizing on the river. Like in bluff, it should be a really great sizing because they need to mix with the pocket pair region, and probably most of the pool will just fold it on 100% of the time. 10-9 here, a bit loose as an open, but tight players, so decided to open. Going to check this flop. I don't think we have that much interest to bet on the flop. I prefer to let him check, and after I can bluff the turn on, or if he bets small sizing, I can raise. Okay. It's just I'm going to bet big here. I'm going to check the turn now. I don't see any interest. I think check his way better on the turn. Now the river. Just going to freak spot. I don't see any hands at all calling. Just going to bet 16. Like if this guy has Jack 8, I want him to fold. Or this guy has King Jack, I want them to fold. So I prefer to bluff my 10 when the amount of folds is really high. Well, end of the video. Hope you like it, and see you for the next one. Bye, guys.